NWA Prepper here again. So I want to continue my last video, which was about a close death. So I want to talk now about, it's been a few years ago when my father passed. My mother had preceded him in death, and that was very hard for us. We were very lost, particularly my father, because he was my father. He handled those things. And so he did something for me that was amazing, and I am trying to get this together for my family, and I encourage you to do the same. And it is a binder, and I didn't bring the binder because the binder is just a 3-ring binder with pages in it, and the pages were, each page was, well, the first page was a, well, well, shit, I'm dead. So here's what I need you to do, son. And it had direction for day one. It was, okay, this has happened. Something has happened to me. I have passed away. But he worded it way different than that. He's like, so here we are. This is what you have to do day one. And it was things as simple as make sure that you water the garden and take care of the dogs, and make sure the cows have I mean, it was things that you just have to do. And then at the bottom it said, don't turn the page until tomorrow, which of course I did not listen to. I flipped through several pages until I got the gist of it. And then the next day was, and I don't remember, I'm not going to bring it out and look. Hello, birdie. But it was, this is how you get a hold of the coroner for my death certificate. Or actually the second day was, no, it was even on the first day. This is the funeral home I want you to use. Okay, and I turned the page, and this is what you tell the funeral home. And he didn't have a pre-planned funeral arrangement, but on that page was an envelope taped to the page that had the money, the exact amount of money that it would take at the funeral home for him to do his wishes. And he was cremated. And then the next day was the next step. And then the next day was, you need to go to the lawyer, and you need to, the house needs to be put in your name. And here's all the forms already filled out and signed and notarized. And here's the $250 that it takes to do that. Here's the lawyer's name. Here's the phone number. Here's the address. And the next day was, it was just step by step by step of everything that he had thought of, to include the bank. It was, go to my bank and just walk in and take them a copy of the death certificate. And he had everything arranged where when I walked in, it was here. And my wife had done the same thing. Because my wife had a special account for her kidney stuff. That way, if something happened to me, her medical insurances kept going with no. Anyway, whatever. There was a plan in place. My father had day by day instructions, and it took about 7 or 8 days to get all the way through it. Everything from, here's who's going to buy my house, here's the price we've agreed on, here's the paperwork you need to do that, here's their phone number. Here is, of course, my father's everyday carry was a Glock 10mm, and he's like, I would like you to give this to my best friend Billy, and and this goes to this person, or this has to stay with you, or this goes to my grandson. He had all of that planned out, and he made a terrible, lonely situation manageable just by, like my last video, I talked about your personal wishes, things that you want. Donner said in your final memorial, or your your remains or whatever, but he had gone further in, these are all the things you need to handle my affairs, to close out that chapter, and the steps that you need and the things that you need to do that. Um, it was a very, it super sucked. Who wants to have a death book? I mean, and I didn't know it existed. I knew that my father had said he had hidden in his house a combination to his gun safe, and he said, "This is where it's at. When you need in there, you go here, and this is the backup combination." Of course, by that time, I already had the combination, but it was, here is the emergency combination to get in the gun safe. What you will need, it will be on the top shelf. And I go in there and I open the gun safe, and on the top shelf was this binder, and it had everything, step by step. You don't have to quite go as detailed as that if you want, but you can. And it's important to do for your family, for your loved ones, for your friends. Make all those arrangements that you can, because now it's easy to do. It's easy to write down the number for the coroner's office or to decide on a funeral home. It's even easier if you go do pre-planned stuff and have that pre-planned with the funeral home to make all that easier. And if you know something's going to cost a couple $100, prepay for it, or have a way, whether even if it's just, here's the bank account number, here's the form you need to take to them to get to that. You don't have to put it in an envelope like my dad did. My dad was not a big bank lover, so it's probably still money buried in his old yard. You can do these things. They will help your family in a time of need, and it requires more than just a conversation. Put it on paper. Let's get ready.